What's up, hobby maniacs? Rob Bear here today with a look at the new Khorne Bloodreavers. This is a great looking kit that basically incorporates a lot of design elements from the semi-multi-part to like kind of like the, I guess what do you want to call it, starter miniatures that come in like the starter box of Age of Sigmar, or perhaps more comparatively the cultist models from the Dark Vengeance box set for Warhammer 40k. These guys really reminded me of that. Now, it's 20 miniatures in this box, right? So it's kind of hard to believe because like this box really isn't that much bigger than like a normal squad box. It's like, wait, how can they fit 20 models in here? Clearly that's a mistake. Well, no, it actually isn't. There is 20 models in here. It's pretty crazy once we take a look at it. Once again, you get the crazy looking packaging, the white background for fantasy, you know, it's the black background for 40k. And you know, it goes into detail. It's a lot of detail about what's going on here. And you got two different weapon options. You got the two-handed axes or the one-handed axe and the blood axe and Bloodreaver combination there. So it's, and of course the command as well that comes in the box. So once you pop this thing open, you kind of get better of an idea of what's going on with it, which is kind of a lot, to be honest. Like, you get four, you know, first of all, you get your 32 millimeter bases, big pack of 20, which, you know, starting to become the norm there. And then you get, of course, four half-size sprues, which is two normal size sprues like you can see there, and we'll look at that here in a second. But what I wanted to start with was the instruction manual itself to kind of show you, give you an idea of how this works. So you've got the Khorne, you can do the 20 with the Reaver Blades or the 20 with the Meat Ripper axes. That's the two-handed weapons. Now the commands are all going to pretty much be the same. They show them right here. They just put them in different spots and kind of rotate them to make them look a little different, but those are basically going to be the same. And the thing, the line of delineation that separates like what's going on here is, and here's the champion there, depending on which one you put together, it's always the same. They just call it something different. The line of delineation right here, I mean, all the torsos go together separately, and you have some torsos that are, you know, already together, and then you have some that are halvesies, like this one here, like more conventional, what we're used to, and then you have these ones right here that are running, and then you have some here that are just striding, and then the two that are already molded together there. And it kind of varies, and you'll see on the sprue there's a little bit of each. There's it looks like there's 7 sets of legs and torsos on the sprue, but there's actually 10, and I'll show you that in a second. And now getting back into the weapons themselves, you can see here that there is matching sets of the two-handed weapons. It's very important that you know, don't go in here and start clipping everything off the sprue, because you'll be super sorry unless you clip it in this order and match it up to this picture. Everything has a specific hand that goes with the left hand goes with the right hand, and then these over here, not necessarily a match set. It just, you know, they recommend a certain way. You can match these axes with these kind of knives right here in kind of an ad hoc fashion, because like I said, they're all cut off at the shoulders up here. Then you have your option of heads, of course, and there's way more than 20 heads in here, which is really neat. You can kind of do all sorts of different combinations. And it's really cool to see, because there's a lot of variations here. And then the instruction manual actually isn't that big, because you can kind of see right here, you're like, okay, well, here's the icon bearer, and here's the horn blower, and then where is it? There's just one little diagram that shows you, that's weird. So I thought there was one little diagram that just shows you, there it is. Okay, so this page is stuck together. It's so thin of a manual. So you've got you can do the Bloodreaver with the Reaver Blades itself, which just shows you a generic, hey, put the right arm on the right, put the left arm on the left, and there you go. And then the dudes with the Meat Ripper axe, obviously same deal, but make sure you pair them up, because that is paramount, or you will be super sorry with what happens there. And then that's pretty much it for the instruction manual. A little alternate art right there is pretty neat. So like I said, these models are very good. I feel like they are head and shoulders, as far as mortal, air quotes, chaos goes, they are head and shoulders above what we're used to seeing. I feel like, you know, in the past, it has always been kind of a, well, you don't really know what you're going to get. You're going to get these great looking guys that seem to be out of scale, or you're going to get these little dudes that seem to be more man-sized, but we're not exactly sure what's going on with them. And then you got the Marauders on horseback, which seem to be the perfect scale, but they don't match up with the Marauders on foot. So it's like this weird ad hoc kind of amalgam of different scales from, you know, different time periods of sculpting. You got some 3D stuff, some not 3D stuff, and it's all you know, it's great looking, but then when you rack them up next to each other, you're like, why is this guy so much bigger? And what is going on here? And I don't get it. But now when you see these guys, and including the ones that come in the starters, and we're probably going to see the Blood Warriors next week if the War Scroll that's in the new quest for the Gal Maraz is any indication, we're probably going to see a new unit next week, maybe some Flesh Hounds, maybe that Khorne Fortress, hard to say, but there is a War Scroll in there for models we haven't seen yet, so keep that in mind as well. So here's the multi-part, the sprue that's cut in half, the normal size sprue, we'll say air quotes normal size sprue. Now when you look at this sprue, you're like, that doesn't look like 10 miniatures. Are you sure that's 10 miniatures? Well, it doesn't look like 10 miniatures, to be honest. So like I said, it looks like there's 7 sets of torsos right here if you start counting them up. And in actuality, there's more because you have these separate torsos here, and then you have 1 set of legs here, 1 set of legs here, and 1 set of legs up here. So you have this weird amalgam or combination of torsos and legs already combined, torsos and legs that you can twist, so you can pivot them so you can make a little bit different of a combination, but you don't want to get it too out of perspective where it looks like it's twisting more inhuman than not. And then this sprue is actually mirrored over here with the same sprue to give you the 20 models, and that's I guess where they save some money, you know, I guess, so to speak. But to be honest, I mean, who cares? It's great looking sculpts. You get 10 models. I mean, this could have been a kit in and of itself, but obviously you need a bunch of these guys to play. These are the unarmored guys, so it would be logical to include 20 in a box set instead of 10, I feel like, you know, cost wise. So if you take a closer look at the sprues themselves, you know, they are very well detailed. Here's the 2-handed axes, and then you've got the command section right here, and the standard over here, and the chain axe for there's the musician. I don't know where that is. I think it's up here. Kind of lost track of it. But anyways, you can kind of tell it's very well done. Now, if you take a closer look at it, like on the side here, you can kind of see there's a ton of flash lines. Like, in the flash on these are really bad. At least this one that I got here. It's very thick, and it's kind of everywhere. Like, obviously this is the plane where the flash is going to occur. So any of these parts that you punch out, the flash line is going to be along this plane right here. And that's probably about the only biggest drawback I could say to this kit itself, is the huge amounts of flash. It almost feels like these guys were cranked out pretty quick. Now, if you look at the sprues themselves, they are copyright 2014. Which kind of means that, hey, Games Workshop knew this whole thing was going down, or they were meant to be something else. Regardless, they are very well detailed as far as, you know, like, look at those abs. Look at those chiseled abs right there, you know what I mean? You got scarifications. You've got crazy looking ornamental, like, you know, chains, Khorne symbols. These aren't like the Marauders of old with these little parts, these little fiddly bits that I feel like we're going to snap off, and they did snap off because I used a lot of them as modifications on some of my Khorne models. But these seem very well done, very robust. You know, they were designed in 3D, obviously, but you can kind of tell when they do test the stresses and things like that they kind of did that on some of these sprues, and that leads a lot to some of the additional strength. And I feel like the only thing is that you might see snap off are some of these like tabard pieces here, but then when you put a set of legs on there, maybe not, you know, maybe that legs will give it the strength to retain that internal I guess integrity, so to speak, of the actual model. Now, like I said, there's a ton of parts here. You get both versions, or both variants, the 2-handed and the 1-handed axes, and then all of your heads are over here. You get the champion head, etc., things like that. So while it seems like it would be a little static, it isn't quite as static as it could be, you know, because you can twist the torsos and things like I was talking about earlier, but also you can switch out heads, you can switch out poses. You know, all the different left and right arm weapons don't have to go on the same left and right arm dudes because they're basically broken up at the shoulders itself. Doesn't seem like it's worth magnetizing. You could magnetize it. That's probably like a 1/8 inch magnet right there. You know, you put one in there. You put one on these guys here. Is it worth it? I don't know. I mean, maybe, but it seems like Age of Sigmar is so casual and kind of laid back that it doesn't really matter. I mean, just pick whatever stat line you feel is the better for these guys. I mean, we can take a look right here. The War Scroll comes in the instruction manual. So here's the War Scroll right here. And so you've got your choice of the Reaver Blades, which are the two-handed weapons, hit on 4s, wound on 4s, do not rend, damage 1, or the Man Ripper Axe, hit on 4s, wound on 4s, rend. So I guess that's kind of where you want to go with that. Like, do you value the rend or do you not value the rend, I guess, at that point? So that's kind of a neat mechanic. I'd probably put the two-handed axe on them and be like, hey, they're good to go. You know, like, that's all I'm saying. Because an axe is an axe at that point, and it's not like you're playing a super highly competitive environment in Age of Sigmar. So if you're just racking them up against your buddies and things like that, then it seems good to go. So very good looking kit. Like I said, some of the best looking mortal models out there, in my opinion, that we've seen in quite some time. And believe me, I am a connoisseur of the Chaos. I would love to see something like this for Chaos Cultists in 40k. And to be honest, you could quite honest, you could make these into Chaos Cultists if you felt like, you know, say you got a bunch of dudes with guns. Well, not every dude's gonna have a gun, to be honest. So say, yeah, maybe you want to switch it up. Maybe you just want to say, well, these guys could have close combat weapons, and maybe they're Khorne, maybe they're not. Hard to say, but I could definitely see you being at the point where you could mix these into a 40k Chaos army without much trouble, in my humble opinion. So great looking models, definitely worth taking a look if you're Age of Sigmar, if you're just a conventional Chaos player for 40k, or you just want to collect some models. Good to go here. So I definitely like the design of these guys, the new Khorne Bloodreavers, and there will be more Khorne releases I anticipate next week as well. So make sure you stay in the trenches, subscribe to this YouTube channel, check out the blog, spikybitsblog.com, and head on over to thelongwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content and early access videos. Become a veteran of the Long War today.